Okay, students, this is a figure-based example from your homework. I want to show you how I solved it. So, a few things about figure base. When you see 6, 4, like this, I want you to think, here's the bass note, and there's a note of sixth and a note of fourth above the bass. Plus, you'll have to add the double note because we're doing 4 total pitches. So that's going to be much simpler than the way you may have done it before. If you see this 5-3 here, usually we think, okay, that's root position triad. Well, that's true, but that also means that there's a note of a third and a fifth above the bass. That's what this is for here. So this 5-3, I'll explain why it's there in a minute, but it just means root position, third and a fifth above the bass. Same thing here, you don't see the number. The only one that's kind of hard to remember here is when you have 6. Now we all know that means first inversion. Well, another way to think of first inversion is there's a note of sixth above the bass, and there's also a number that's understood. 6 always means 6-3. So there's also a note a third above the bass, like that. So that's first inversion, sixth and a third above the bass. So what our job is to do is to fill those pitches in and do the doubling so that every voice is as smooth as possible and we avoid parallels. So we'll get to that in just a minute. Doubling wise, root position chords, you already know, we tend to double the bass most of the time. 6-4 chords, you may not know this, but we always double the bass note, so you'll have 2 E's. And then first inversion chords like this, we double whatever of the 3 pitches makes this as smooth as possible without doubling the leading tone. So double any of the 3 notes that isn't the leading tone. And then you, again, want to avoid parallels. So let me work you through this just a little bit. So root position chord, we're in the key of E, 4 sharps. 2 E's, double the root, G sharp B, right? Now 6-4, double the bass. So the bass is E, and if we keep the E in the tenor, that's really nice and neat. Now, 6-4. Well, this is a fifth and a third above the bass, right? E, G sharp B, G sharp B. Well, since the bass stays the same, 6-4 in this particular position, it's really smooth if you just move these 2 notes up a step. A sixth above E is C sharp. So B can go to C sharp. And then a fourth is A. And then G sharp here can go to A. See how nice and smooth that works? Now, the reason that the person who wrote the textbook put 5-3 here, they didn't really have to because it just means root position like this. But you can see really clearly how it just moves back down. The sixth becomes a fifth. Here's the sixth above the bass, becomes a fifth, just moves down. And the fourth becomes a third. So the fourth above the bass becomes a third. And then what do we double in root position? The bass. So here we go. So you can see how nice and smooth everything is there. And I think most of you got that on your homework. All right. A, nothing underneath, means root position. A, C sharp, E, right? That's a fifth and a third. So C sharp, the closest place to put C sharp, B to C sharp, right? And then A, C sharp, E. There's our other note. We already have an E in the tenor. We'll keep that nice and boring. Boring is good. A, C sharp, E, and again we double in root position, tend to double the bass. So there's the A. So see how nice and smooth everything is so far? You can also ignore, I know you see these stems going up, they really should be going down. We're in 4-part writing, so just ignore those stem ups. All right, now this is really tricky. See how this moves up by step, root position? Well, if you follow what you're supposed to do and make everything go smoothly, you just move everything up, you're going to end up with parallels everywhere. Everything's going to be parallel, and that's bad. We know that parallel fifths, parallel octaves are all bad, and parallel unison. So what we're going to do to combat these parallels is instead of moving up and following the bass, we're just going to go down. So we're going to force these voices down. B, root position B chord, right? We need 2 B's. So instead of going A to B here, see that'd be parallel, we're going to have the C sharp, the soprano, go down to B and avoid the parallel. All right? So now we have B, B. We need the third and the fifth, D sharp, F sharp, right? D sharp, see how close D sharp is to E here? We're going to do that. See how going down it combats all the parallels? And then finally, B, D sharp, F sharp is the last one. And it's a little skip of a third, which is fine. And that gives us F sharp. See how nice and smooth that is? And it goes in contrary motion, avoids all the parallels. All right, now, 6. Here we go. It's the first time we have one of these 6s. So a sixth above this note is E. Remember, 6 means 6, 3. So a third above is here. So those are the two notes that we have to put in, E and B. Plus, we need to double something. It can be any of these 3 notes as long as we don't create parallels. We want it to be as smooth as possible. So let's start with E. Well, D sharp here is pretty close to E, and that's also the leading tone, so we're going to put it up to E. There's E. B, we already have B, so we can keep it there. And then we have E, G sharp, B. We've done everything, we just need to double something. Let's double something that isn't the leading tone, because double leading tones are bad. If we take F sharp down to E right there, see how we have E? It's actually the same pitch in the alto and tenor. That's nice and smooth, no bad parallels. All right, now, again, whenever the bass moves by step like this, so easy to make parallels, to just follow up and make everything parallel, because that's smooth, but too many parallels are bad. So let's force these upper voices to move down. All right, A, 6, 3. Here's a, sixth above A, and then third above A. All right, those are our two pitches, F sharp and A. F sharp, good place to put F sharp. Well, I'm going to let this note go up to F sharp. I know I said not to let him go up, but we kind of have to. So here's F sharp. C sharp. Well, I don't want B to go to C sharp because then I'll have, see the parallel fifths. So I'm going to have E go down to C sharp. All right, so we got these two. Now we need a double note. See how easy it is to just double the bass and you step down? So one voice did go up, and that's parallel 6, but parallel 6 are okay. It's fifths and octaves that are bad. All right. And then finally we have this B chord, root position, right? Fifth and a third. So those are the two, D sharp, F sharp we need. D sharp, F sharp. Now again, we want to avoid, if we can, these parallels. So let's try to go down. All right? Instead of A going up to B, which would be parallel with the bass, A, B, we're going to have A drop down to F sharp. That's the next chord tone. All right? B, F sharp. We have D sharp to fit in there. We're going to let this F sharp drop down to D sharp. Okay? And then the last note we have B, D sharp, F sharp. We're missing the doubled bass note. So tenor can drop down there. And again, so you have this moving stepwise bass. We generally let the other voices go in contrary motion to avoid the parallels. And finally, E, root position chord, right? So we need E, G sharp, B. E, G sharp, B. Well, see there's B, we'll keep that. We need a G sharp. Nice place to put G sharp is to let that move smoothly there. And then the bass, we need a doubled E, right? See how nice and smooth that is? So there is our, there's our nicely done progression. So let's do the analysis real quick. So first chord's an E chord. We know it's root position, so the bass note's E. We're in the key of E, so that's 1. Now 6-4. When you have a 6-4 chord, 6-4 means the fifth is in the bass, right? So fifth, third, root. It's an A chord, and A in the key of E is the 4 chord. All right? And then back to this chord, we know that these are the same, right? Same root, 5-3 root position. So that's good. A chord again, here's that A chord. 4 is A. Just moves up by step to 5, right? Root position, so that's a 5 chord. Now we have an inverted chord, so the Roman numeral is not for the bass note, right? 6 means the third is in the bass. So if we drop down to here, that's an E chord. E is the root. Okay, so E chord in the key of E is 1. And then same thing here. This is 6, right? So the 6 means the third is in the bass. First inversion means the third's in the bass. So the root is a third below F sharp. And the key of E, that's 2. And then finally at the end, it's always going to be 5-1 at the end, right? Sol, do, so that's what happens there. All right, so there's that exercise.